Alright, this is Owen and Main recording on the 7th of October 2020 and around 25 past 9. I'm here with Nadine Rafferty and doing an interview about questions about anxiety and depression. So, what is your name?
Uh, Nadine Rafferty.
Okay, and Nadine, do you consent to being recorded on camera and on audio?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Alright, Nadine, do you want to give us a little bit of background? So, why don't you tell me about yourself, what your hobbies are, and what you like to do in your spare time, or what you're doing right now, your family, etc., etc.
Um, I'm 18. I'm doing music in the college. For my course, I'm a drummer in the two or three bands. Outside of college, I would play guitar, dabble a bit in piano and bass. I also play ukulele. My family members, I have my mom, my stepdad, and my little brother, and my dog, if you can count that.
And what is this dog's name?
Her name's Jessie.
Ah, good girl. Alright, Nadine, you've been diagnosed with both severe depression and social anxiety, is that correct?
Yes.
Who were you diagnosed by, sorry?
Sorry.
Were you diagnosed by a doctor, a counsellor, or...
Um, I was diagnosed by a GP and I was referred to a counsellor.
Oh, okay. Would you mind telling us how anxiety or depression might affect you socially?
Um, say for example, if I was going out and maybe I knew two of the people there in the whole group and there was about 10 people, I more than likely would not go because I wouldn't know most of them and I'd be too anxious. I'm usually too anxious to talk to new people unless I'm really comfortable with them. Um, with depression, if I'm just sad in general, I'll just stay in my bed, probably use an excuse saying, oh, I'm sick or something, and just don't go and just stay in my bed all day.
With the social anxiety thing, with the little story that you or example that you just told me, is that a case of it's always possible to be alone in a room full of people?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Nadine. Is there ways that since the time that you've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, is there ways that you've been able to overcome it in some circumstances, or like no ways to deal with it in everyday life?
Um, for me personally, music has always helped me. If I'm feel depressed, I would listen to the opposite, like happy music or upbeat music. If I was anxious in a situation, I would listen to calming, like acoustic music.
Is there anything specific that you listen to, like any specific song that you can think of at the top of your head right now?
Um, One of the songs that would be upbeat would be Sweet Tooth by Scott Hellman. Um, for anxiety, um, I would listen to a playlist of Cave Town songs.
Okay, thank you. All right, Nadine. For this next question, you are able to decline it if you feel so. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know how your anxiety or depression managed to develop over time? Was there a certain tragedy that happened, or maybe something in school?
For both anxiety and depression, um, it's hard to know which started first. I'd say maybe anxiety first. Um, in primary school all the way up to before I started college, I was always bullied for something. Something was always found that was wrong with me. In primary school, I was just bullied for my personality, me being quiet, my looks, how I dressed, everything. Um, when I went to secondary school, I was bullied for looks again. Um, because of what happened in primary school, I was more anxious to talk to anyone in the class since it was, I guess, it's like trauma for talking to new people, just afraid of being judged by what you do and anything you do. Um, with depression, uh, I think it started around when I was maybe 10 or 12. Um, I knew this beforehand, but my dad passed away when I was 4 months old, and I guess that kind of got to me over time because I never talked to anyone about it. I guess over time I just kept thinking about it more and more, and how I never really got to meet him, never had a relationship with him. I had my stepdad, of course, but over time I kind of felt like he was replacing my own dad in a way, because I never really knew him. I only seen photos. I was only told what he was like, but I never got to experience that.
Thank you. Okay, Nadine, going through what you've gone through growing up and through school, and obviously with what happened with your father, have these things impacted your life in any way?
With anxiety, I've always found it hard to make friends. When I've made friends, some of them weren't the best to keep with me around. Like you could say they're almost toxic in a way. Um, but because I was afraid of what they would say or do if me and them got into a fight, or they just stopped being my friend. Um, so I never really had good people around me during secondary school. Um, with depression, it's hard to socialize as well. Um, because when you feel depressed, you it's hard to focus on anything. Say if you're in class and you suddenly drop, it can be hard to focus what's in class, what your homework is, what you're doing right in front of you. Um, I guess, yeah, depression, anxiety can impact everything.
But later on, you did manage to make some very good friends, didn't you?
uh, yeah, I did. Um, uh, I've made two really good friends. Uh,
Or can you name them, please?
um, my first friend would have been Lydia, and then there would have been you, Owen.
Oh, kisses and hugs. Thanks again. All right, Nadine. In the last 7 months, from March all the way up to the present day, could you please tell us how the COVID crisis has impacted you and your mental health, or if it hasn't?
um, with COVID, obviously at the start we were complete lockdown. We couldn't leave our houses. We could only leave for essentials like shopping. Um,
Did not seeing anyone affect your anxiety or depression in any way?
um, I don't think it really affected my anxiety. With anxiety, because we couldn't leave our houses to see anyone, we used our phones for video calls and texting. It would make me more anxious if a certain person didn't text back for a while, because it would make me think that I annoyed them, or I would have started something, or uh,
Did it also make you anxious because the virus was really strong at the start and people were dying in like the hundreds all over the place?
yeah, it was scary to think about. Um, it's scary to think about just leaving your house. You could just get it, and that will be it. um, with depression, it hit it badly. Um, I was for most of lockdown when we were at the start. It affected me very very badly. I spent months just in bed. I didn't leave my room for about 2 months at the most. Um, it got to a point where My parents were trying to get my parents were trying to get counselling, but the counsellors they wanted me to have, they didn't have any access to online, so I couldn't get any counselling.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're about to wrap this up, but last question, Nadine. Would you give any advice to anyone out there who's currently dealing with either of these mental illnesses?
Um, Personally, if I was to give the same advice, for me, music helps. But if I was to try help someone else, um, they might not like music. Music might make them worse. So giving advice can be hard for people with the same illnesses because they might not they might not take your advice or they just won't agree with it.
Alright, thank you. This is Nadine Rafferty. So, thanks for the interview. Now, give me a hug.